right. And then in a minute, we'll be on live feed with the press, and we'll go from there. Good morning. I am Bob Sanborn, President and CEO of Children at Risk. We're here today to talk about childcare deserts in the state of Texas. We recently completed an analysis of childcare in our state, looking at all the deserts, the lack of high quality childcare within all of our communities. We put together a great panel to talk about childcare deserts, to talk about childcare in Texas. As I mentioned, I'm Bob Sanborn, President and CEO of Children at Risk. We're a statewide research and advocacy group. With us is Kim Coffran. Kim is the Director of Education at Children at Risk. She's out of Austin. Kim, good morning. Also here, Adriana Kohler. She's the Policy Director in Austin of Texans Care for Children. Adriana, thank you very much for being here. Jackie Reza is with us. She's the Director and owner of Flower in the Garden Child Care Center. She's in El Paso. So we want to thank Jackie for being here. Jerletha McDonald is with us. Jerletha is the CEO and founder of DFW Family Child Care Network. She's out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, North Texas. And then finally, Dr. Melissa Joswick. She is a professor of early childhood education at Texas A&M University. She's in San Antonio. Thank you very much for being with us, Melissa. So as we talk about childcare, I think one of the things that's real important for us to understand is that this is a big issue in the state of Texas. We've gathered a lot of experts today. We've done this analysis because what we want to focus on is our workforce, and our workforce today and our workforce as we go into the future. And when we talk about today's workforce, what we understand is that there are families in Texas that want to work, right? We are a working state. So we have families who want to work, but if they can't find childhood education, if they can't find a place, childcare for their children, then it becomes much more difficult for them. So one of the things we're focused on today is talking about how families can find that childcare and the lack of places for their children. Furthermore, as we talk about the future, one of the things that we understand is that when kids find high quality early childcare, when they are in quality early childcare, they are significantly likely to do much better academically. They are going to be much more successful in school and with opportunities after school. So we want to make sure we have a nice and good future for our children. And one of the biggest bangs for your policy buck is going to be in early education. So it's real important as we talk about this. But let me be real clear about this. Texas is in trouble when it comes to childcare. We've made progress on improving quality, and that's something to be proud of. But when it comes to access, how many kids are actually getting into those quality programs, we seem to be moving in the wrong direction. So we're talking about thousands of children across the state of Texas that are stuck on wait lists. Parents who want to work but can't be there at work because there is no childcare. And so as we talk about this, we want you to know that providers really want to serve their communities, but they can't keep the lights on because the funding just isn't there in many cases. And let's not forget that during the last couple of years, we had a lot of COVID money that came into our state. And while we don't want to talk about COVID anymore in many cases, what is real important to understand is that there was a lot of COVID money that came into our state, and it really helped prop up early education in our state. So we're seeing now sort of that first iteration of what it's like to be without COVID money. But a couple of really important things stood out for us as we looked at this analysis. One is that we've lost a lot of childcare seats across the state of Texas in the last year, over 75,000 seats that we've lost. Those are families that are desperately trying to find spots for their kids, in many cases not being able to find it. Across most areas in our states, the number of deserts have increased, meaning more communities have little to no access to reliable quality care. The worst hit in our state, El Paso, the Rio Grande Valley, Fort Worth, Dallas. We've seen a lot of problems in those communities specifically. And the families that have been hit the hardest, low-income families. We often forget that young families in the state of Texas, that's a lot of kids. It's a lot of families. 65% of all the children in the state of Texas are in low-income families. So that means these families are struggling. These are working parents, and these, in many cases, are the families that need the most help. We've been pushing really hard for quality. That's working. Thanks to the requirement that subsidy providers join the Texas Rising Star. Because of that requirement, more kids are receiving scholarships now in these high quality programs. That's a big win for our state. But we need to make sure that parents can really find a spot. That's going to be the most important thing. And that's still reality in many Texas towns and neighborhoods, that parents want to work, but it's becoming very difficult for them to find spots. But if you ask any of the providers, and we'll have some today, they'll tell you they want to serve more families. They want to do it right, but they can't make the math work at current reimbursement rates. It's just not sustainable. So we lose programs, we lose staff, and ultimately we lose kids who miss out on critical early learning, and when they miss out on that later success in their life. Now, one of the things that we're really excited about is the Texas House has stepped up with $100 million in a supplemental budget to support these high quality early education programs. We really think that the Senate is going to follow suit, and that's a big deal. It shows that lawmakers are paying attention. This should be an easy thing. The research shows this is a big bang for your buck, so we want them to continue to pay attention to do it. But we also need to be honest. It's really not enough. Even at $100 million, it's not enough. And to give you sort of an example of how some of these things work in the budget, you know, everyone, the governor on down are excited about this voucher program, the subsidies for private education. $1 billion in for this voucher, this Education Savings Act. But $200 million out of this $1 billion is allocated just for subsidies for kids who already are in private schools. That's $200 million and versus $100 million for what we're allocating for early childhood education. Now, I don't want to make this political because, frankly, I want a lot of money to go to kids. The more kids have for funding, the better it is. But children are our greatest resource, and we're not getting enough funding for them. We are happy to take $100 million, and we will maximize it and do well for Texas. But I think the general public just needs to understand that we probably need to do more. So 2025, this year, it's a pivotal moment for Texas families and for our economy. It's time that we recognize that childcare is essential infrastructure, and we need to start building a long-term system that meets the need for every family in every part of Texas. We have lots of kids in Texas. 10% of America's children live here in the Lone Star State. And this should be an easy win. As a state, we love kids. Research shows that quality early education is slam dunk good public policy. Families want this. And if we have a dream at Children at Risk, it's that every Texas child has this opportunity to be successful, just opportunity. But this is how we start that opportunity, by giving them access to quality early education. So let's go to our panel, because we have lots of good pieces of data here. We have lots of testimonials. We'll keep it brief because we know that's what the press want, but we want to go to it. Kim Coffrin is with us. She is the Director of Education for Children at Risk. She's out of Austin. Kim, give us your take on the child care desert maps and what's going on with early education in Texas.
Well, thanks, Dr. Bob, and it's good to be with everyone this morning. Yeah, so we've been at Children at Risk been analyzing childcare deserts since 2017. And so a desert is an area that has 3 times the number of children than there are childcare seats. And when we look at our data each year, we look at a snapshot from the previous September. So when we conducted this analysis last year, childcare programs were still being supported by that temporary pandemic relief dollars. And we got billions of dollars from the feds, and it really saved childcare throughout the pandemic, and really gave us a really good insight to what money could actually do for our programs and for children and families. But that funding ended of September of 2023. And so this year, what we're presenting today is from September of 2024, and marks the first time that we're really seeing the true impact of where our childcare is after that funding has gone away. And it points a concerning picture of what challenges are facing childcare providers and families across the state. Throughout the year, we are in close communication with childcare providers across Texas. We hear their stories of programs closing in their communities, of their daily struggles to keep their doors open. And what we're seeing in the data supports what they have been telling us. As of September of 2024, we've lost nearly 75,000 childcare seats. That loss has a 15% increase in our deserts across the state, making it significantly harder for families to find care. We know that more programs closed last year than opened. We also continue to see a decline in our family childcare homes, providers who care for small groups of children in their own home. And these programs are an important part of option for families, especially those with infants or those with non-traditional work hours. Since 2019, we've seen a 24% loss of family childcare providers, which just means fewer choices for families who already have limited access. But like Dr. Bob said, there is a piece of good news. When we look at our Texas Rising Star deserts, those areas without access of high quality childcare, we actually saw a decrease in deserts, a 13% decrease, which means more programs are achieving that high quality standard of Texas Rising Star, which is our state's revenue system, rating system. That progress is largely thanks to a law that was passed in the 87th legislative session, which requires programs serving children on scholarships to participate in TRS. We're finally starting to see that impact. More children who are on scholarship are in high quality programs, giving families a few more options when it comes to quality. But with that improvement, the overall picture still remains deeply troubling. With the number of childcare programs shrinking, 88% of our low income working families now live in the childcare desert. And as of December of 24, nearly 95,000 children are on our childcare subsidy waiting list, waiting for that assistance. The data from September 2024 paints a concerning picture for childcare in Texas. We're encouraged by the rise in high quality programs. We got to keep that up. But the steep loss in overall capacity, the continued decline of home-based care, and the overwhelming number of families left without access, especially our low income families, make it clear that we're in a crisis. Families need solutions and they need them now.
Kim, I wanted to ask you, we know that young families are much more likely to be low income. I mean, that's sort of the reality, is that when you're younger, you're going to be lower income
Yep.
than as you get older. What is the difference for that young family, and specifically for those kids, when they go to high quality childcare as opposed to not going to childcare or lower quality childcare? What is the difference in terms of their success?
The brain, it does so much growth and development those first 3 years and those first 5 years. And it's just an ample opportunity for language and reasoning and getting our executive functions to work. And when we're in high quality programs, children really are able to get those experience. So when they get to kindergarten and when they get in third grade and even in high school, they have that base foundation. We've given their brain every opportunity to develop to its full capacity when we're in high quality programs.
Very good. Kim Coffin is the Senior Director of Education. She's in Austin for Children at Risk. Thank you, Kim, very much. Let's go also in Austin, Adriana Kohler. She's the Policy Director for Texans Care for Children. Adriana, give us your take on all of this.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here. As Kim mentioned, the most recent state data says that 95,000 families are on a wait list for the Child Care Services Program. That's too many families waiting for a slot to open up that's affordable and high quality. But we've got some good news. Late last week, the Texas House approved a supplemental budget bill, HB 500, with $100 million for childcare scholarships. This couldn't come at a better time. This funding will allow the Texas Workforce Commission to serve additional families in the Child Care Services Program. We're thrilled that Texas leaders are taking this historic step to empower families. It helps families have more choices for their child care. This investment in scholarships is wonderful news for parents and their children. More parents can go to work. More children are in safe, high quality childcare during those critical years. I'm a mom of a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I love this news. I love that my little ones can be in class with their peers, and that slots might open up and we might be able to serve more families. I do want to take a moment to appreciate the leaders who are making this happen: Chairman Greg Bonin, Speaker Burrows, Chairman Wali, from Houston and other state leaders who are making a commitment to Texas families. I can't say enough, this is unprecedented, and we hope it's just the first step for many years to come. What's next? This bill goes to the Senate, so it's now under the Senate for consideration, and we hope in the coming days and weeks they'll take it up and it'll end up on the governor's desk for a signature.
Adriana, Texas is interesting because childcare is not, it's bipartisan. It's not a partisan issue, right? You have both parties with these strong pro-family values. Do we see that there's potential that, is this a slam dunk in passing? I don't think anything's ever a slam dunk in Texas, but is there, what's your sort of outlook for this? Because this is very pro-family. This is good for both parties.
Right. I won't say it's a slam dunk. I don't want to jinx us until the signature is on the bill, but this is the package, the supplemental bill is a bill that has to pass, whether or not childcare, the $100 million for childcare subsidies stays in is a question. That's why we need to make sure that Senate leaders know that this is an important funding piece that should be included in the final bill. We still need to tell every single senator from Texas that that should stay in, and they should consider this a big win for pro-family, pro-child, for the agenda going forward.
Very good. Adriana Kohler, she is out at Texans Care for Children, a great advocacy group in Austin. Let's go down to way over to El Paso, Texas. Jackie Reza is with us. She's the director and owner of Flower in the Garden Child Care Center in El Paso. Jackie, one of the things that we noticed is that El Paso was sort of had bad conditions, a lot of deserts when it comes to childcare. And so you're out there in the desert with these childcare deserts. Jackie, give us your take on all of this.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. And yes, I'm not here just representing my center, but all the centers here in El Paso and throughout the state. We have a childcare crisis throughout the state of Texas, and it's just becoming more urgent every day. Childcare, like you said, the deserts are increasing, but not just because there aren't enough providers, but because families can't afford the care and providers can't sustain operations under the current systems we have. So as a big part of the challenge is a gap between what families need and what providers are expected to deliver under certain requirements, especially, the new Texas Rising Stars program. As it's well-intentioned, these requirements don't often reflect the real world operations of what we're receiving of funding, especially smaller or community-based programs. The high standards are important, but without the resources to meet them, many centers are left struggling to survive. Many families here in El Paso, we have waiting lists, and we just can't get these little ones into our doors because either we don't have enough staff, because that's also another problem, right? The low staff wages that these providers that we're able to give them. We don't even have enough staff, or our centers are just, we're just not making it. And it's a really big issue that we're facing. But thanks to the 100 million that has just been recently passed, it's going to be such a powerful step forward that we will be able to now provide these families ability to go back to work, go back to school, and possibly even actually in our area here in El Paso, the Senator Blanco actually just passed something recently to offer after-hour cares for families that are going back to school, and so it's just going to be such a big step going forward. But this funding gives us the ability to build stability in our centers, be able to provide high quality childcare, like you said. High quality childcare not only gives a child a great place to be, but it also gives them the ability to have social, emotional growth, and so much more. I always say, we are building the future little citizens of the world. And so, we might be able to give them that step. I always say, maybe I'll have the next president of the United States on my center, and we were able to transform their lives. And so that's why it's so important for us here in Texas to be able to look at the children and invest in them. It's an investment. If we invest in them now, we will see something way bigger at the end. And so we just have to start with making these choices together and looking at the systems that we have in place as well. And that will make a huge difference for the children here in the state of Texas.
Jackie, yo sé que usted habla español y si podemos alguna palabra para la prensa latino, háblanos de las cosas que son difíciles, porque como vives en El Paso y como los desiertos de childcare son, hay muchos ahí en El Paso, ¿nos puede hablar en un pocas palabras de qué está pasando ahí?
Sí, claro. Las cosas aquí en El Paso están un poquito difíciles porque no tienen acceso a alta calidad los padres y familias porque no pueden regresar al trabajo porque está muy caro el precio de guarderías. Entonces, haciendo esta inversión en los niños puede ayudar que nosotros podamos ver un cambio en no nomás nuestros niños, pero nuestras familias. Vamos a poder ver que ellas van a poder trabajar y van a poder regresar al trabajo, y también los niños van a poder crecer emocional, con su social emocional, también esta autoestima va a estar alto. Yo siempre he dicho que a lo mejor nosotros tenemos el futuro presidente de los Estados Unidos, entonces a lo mejor nosotros vamos a hacer esa diferencia en esa familia y en ese niño. Es muy importante que el estado de Texas y todos, ¿verdad?, nos pongamos juntos para hacer los cambios que es necesario en el estado de Texas para los niños y especialmente los más vulnerables. Estamos creando los ciudadanos futuros de nuestro futuro.
Very good. Muchísimas gracias, Jackie. Jackie Reza is the director and owner of Flower in the Garden Child Care Center in El Paso, Texas. Let's go to North Texas. Jerletha McDonald is with us. She's the CEO and founder of DFW Child Care Network. Jerletha, give us your take on all of this.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. I love the opportunity to speak on behalf of family childcare educators. We are witnessing a steady decline in family childcare programs across the state, and the providers I work with are sounding the alarm. Here is some of the things that we are looking at. Rising costs and financial strain. The cost of living, including housing, food, and basic supplies, continues to rise, impacting both families and educators. Many families on the child care scholarship waitlist are simply cannot afford child care without the support of the scholarship program. At this time, many family child care educators who do participate in the scholarship programs still struggle because reimbursement rates do not reflect the true cost of providing high quality care. We are thankful for the new bill that's out that will increase, will get some kids off the waiting list, but we still have more work to do. Zoning and HOA restrictions. Educators are increasingly being targeted by local zoning laws and homeowner associations that limit and prohibit home-based child care businesses, even when they are fully licensed and in compliance. I just had a phone call the other day with a provider who has to close next week due to her HOA, and she is a licensed child care facility. Senator West's bill, SB 599, is a step in the right direction. This bill will help reduce barriers by preventing local zoning restrictions and more. Lack of business knowledge and retirement planning. While many family child care educators are experts in child development, they often lack, not all, but some, business development tools, financial planning resources, and retirement strategies. Could you imagine working your whole life as a child care educator and retiring without any retirement benefits? But you have the most important job in the world, right? What could be done to improve conditions for family child care educators? Increase reimbursement rates for providers participating in the scholarship program. We will love if our state increases reimbursement rates, especially all the hard work that we do by becoming Texas Rising Star providers. Launch startups, sustainability grants designed specifically for family child care programs, supporting licensing, business expansions, and workforce development. Protect family child care businesses by supporting legislative bills that support family child care. Provide business and financial literacy training to help educators run high-quality, sustainable businesses and plan for retirement. And also expand access to child care scholarships. and increased funding as always, right? And lastly, I want to leave us with, let's rethink and reimagine childcare. It's time to rethink and reimagine childcare with bold innovation and cross-sector collaborations. We must engage industries that depend on childcare workforce, healthcare, education, retail, hospitality, logistics, and beyond. These industries cannot function without childcare. Together, we can design a more equitable, sustainable, and family-centered system that supports working families and the educators who serve them. Remember, childcare is the workforce behind the workforce.
That is so true. Julitha McDonald is the CEO and founder of DFW Childcare Network. And Julitha, I'm so alarmed that the number of deserts have gone up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's something. Here's one of the largest cities in America, right? And so there's so much work to do, not only in Texas but specifically there as well. So thank you very much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Next up, we're going to go out to San Antonio. Dr. Melissa Joswick is a professor of early childhood at Texas A&M University, San Antonio. So we're going to get the professor's viewpoint on all of this. Melissa, give us your take on what we're seeing here.
I think that it's really, thank you, Bob, and thank you everyone for highlighting how complex this problem is, because there's not one single solution that is going to strengthen the early childhood ecosystem such that we are fully prepared to support the larger workforce. The data you're sharing about the childcare deserts growing, childcare, having fewer and fewer childcare providers. One of the things we learned in San Antonio recently through research that the city funded was that the number one reason childcare centers are not operating at capacity, that they are not improving their quality, or they are not expanding their capacity, is the workforce. They don't have sufficient staff and sufficiently qualified staff. So that's certainly one piece of this puzzle. And that's the piece I think I want to really kind of talk about, because in my work as a professor, on a daily basis, we're working with those childcare providers, really seeing what it takes to get to that quality. We heard Kim talk about the importance of quality earlier on, but the staff is such a key component in that quality. And so, I think that complex problems take complex solutions. And so we're in San Antonio. One of the things that we're working on, we recently broke ground on a $20 million building, Educare San Antonio, and it's really targeting that workforce component, that piece where it's very difficult for individuals who have a passion for caring for young children and families to go into that classroom day after day and meet all of the different challenges that face them. We've got to do more to support the workforce in gaining the knowledge and the skills that it takes to work effectively with young children. And so, we're fortunate to be in a state where there are teach scholarships. I feel very fortunate to be in a city where we have the SA Ready to Work funding, where there are dollars that support individuals to go back to school and to learn and to gain the knowledge and skills. And then to be on the A&M San Antonio campus, where we're building this collaborative approach to training the workforce. I feel very honored to be part of that network. It is difficult to know how to work with young children. And so Educare San Antonio, it really began because we had advocacy groups go out into the community and say, if we want to strengthen all childcare providers in San Antonio, we've got to provide that level of coaching and mentoring and support. And so Early Matters San Antonio took that torch. They ran with the university alongside of them. And then we had so many nonprofits in the community. We had city support. That type of an approach where it's not just on any one entity's backs, but where you have public, private, you've got city support, you've got nonprofits, all coming together around a shared mission of improving things for young children and families. I think that's really what is key to solving many of these issues around the childcare deserts, but it certainly has been strategic and very valuable in addressing the workforce component here in San Antonio. And so I would just sort of advocate that we continue to put money into that workforce development, because it is key to improving the downward trend, or to turn around that trend in childcare deserts.
Yeah, Melissa, I want to address that quickly because, people are obviously hyped up about this $100 million, which, as Adriana points out, is not a done deal. But even if it were a done deal, it's not enough to solve our problems. And people need to understand that this issue is of utmost importance. And when we talk about these deserts expanding across our state, and while there's some good news, overall, it's sort of concerning. It's a challenge for the state of Texas. Talk a little bit, you know, if I'm an average citizen and I vote, what should I be most concerned about?
Well, I think you really need to think about, investing your vote, your dollar, in essence, in something that's going to have a ripple effect. So, we're investing in early childhood. And while that is going to provide an immediate service to those children, it is impacting not just those children, it is impacting the parents being able to go out and be able to work. It is impacting their employers. So that's why when you talked about that early investment, it is going to strengthen every single layer in our state's economy and our state's workforce, because it's not just about serving a few children. While that's critical, it is enabling their parents to work. It is enabling those parents' employers to thrive. And so that's where you really get this ripple effect of that investment in the early years. And so that's what I would say to voters, is to know that that one vote is going to probably have the biggest bang for their buck statewide.
And what's the old formula, the Heckman formula, that what for every dollar we invest in childcare, we get $13 back?
$13 back.
Yeah, so it's
Excellent return on investment.
it's like the best public policy investment we can make. And Kim Coffrin, I know you've talked about this Heckman thing a lot. I mean, that's a big deal for us, right? To make sure that we're doing this investment.
It's a huge deal. I remember years ago talking to a colleague who worked in juvenile justice, and I always teased him that if I did my job right, if we did our job right in early childhood, we would put him out of business. Excuse me. And so that's where that ripple effect is not just that today ripple effect, which Melissa you talked about, but it's that ripple effect of how that affects that child's trajectory for their entire life.
Yeah, it's almost like now I'm showing my age, but there used to be this old oil filter thing. You could pay me now, or you could pay me later. You could change your oil now, or you're gonna pay your engine later. And this is important, right? Because for us, we could do this investment in early education, which is a great benefit, or we'll pay later, right? So I think so anyway, I don't know why I finished with that. I'm never going to use that analogy again. Too old. But anyway, I want to thank Kim Coffrin, Adriana Kohler, Jackie Reza, Jerletha McDonald, Dr. Melissa Joswick. Thank you all very much for the work that you do, but for also being part of this press conference. And we just need to keep up the good work. We're moving in the right direction, but things around us are not necessarily where we want them to be. They certainly aren't where we want them to be. So we have to keep moving. Thank you all very much for covering this important topic on early education in Texas. Take care.
Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.